Hello everyone, welcome back to Believers Science Academy. This is topic of the day. Today we'll discuss another Gen Z protest. Not Nepal this time, but we are discussing another Gen Z protest somewhere else in the country, in the world. Sorry, somewhere else in the world. That is Gen Z protest in North African country, that is Morocco. So youth-led unrest in Morocco. We'll discuss the causes, what is the trigger point, and what is this Gen Z 212, which is trending in Discord, Twitter, or X.com or Instagram, and also the implications of this youth-led protest. Okay, so the trigger point for these protests in Morocco were because of an unfortunate incident that happened in a hospital in a city called as Agadir or Agadir. There was a city or a hospital in Agadir where pregnant women, eight pregnant women died because of hospital infra and lack of infrastructure. So the protests were triggered by a tragic incident in Agadir where 8 women died during childbirth due to poor hospital facilities and lack of basic medical equipment. Imagine 8 women dying because of poor hospital facilities. That is pregnant women. Total of 16 lives lost. So this was the trigger point that led to youth protest. It doesn't mean that this was the only reason. There were various reasons, but the flashpoint or the trigger point which resulted in this protest is this particular event. The protesters criticized the contrast between the failures and Morocco's investments in the World Cup infrastructure, chanting, "We do not want World Cup, we want health first." I'll tell you. So in 2030, there will be FIFA World Cup. Okay, in 2026, the FIFA World Cup is happening in USA, Canada, and Mexico. But the 2031 is happening in 3 countries: Spain, Portugal, and other one is Morocco. So the citizens or the youth, what were their criticism was, people are dying because of poor health facilities in our country, and you are investing not in the healthcare, instead building large stadiums for the World Cup. Who wants the World Cup? Why are you focusing on the World Cup when people are dying because of hunger, people are dying because of poor health facilities? That is the issue. So the incident highlights systematic neglect of essential public services and ignited the widespread youth mobilization. You are focusing on World Cup because you want to highlight Morocco as some sort of big country in the North Africa. But what is the actual reality is that the people are dying because of poor health facilities. Next, what is this Gen Z 212? This youth-led protest is also called as Gen Z 212. Who are these Gen Z? Gen Z are the people who were born between 1997 and 2013. So all the youth population in the country is called as Gen Z. So before this, it was millennials who were born before 1997, and after this 2013, they are called as Gen Alpha. So that is how people are people are naming these generations. Okay, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and before that we were born before 1997 are called as millennials. Many of you aspirants might be in the Gen Z. So this is Gen Z. And what is this 212? 212 is the country's dialing code. Plus 212 is the country's dialing code. How plus 91 is India's dialing code, plus 212 is Morocco's dialing code. So the Gen Z of Morocco, Gen Z of plus 212 are protesting against the government. That is why the name Gen Z. So Gen Z 212 is an anonymous youth-led activist group that played a central role in organizing the protest. It is named after Morocco's country dialing code. The group primarily operates online, mobilizing young Moroccans through Discord. What is this Discord? Discord is a social media where people can connect together, and TikTok and Instagram. And the Discord membership rose from just 3,000 to 1,88,000 in just 1 week. That is the scale of protest in Morocco, showing its reach and the influence. Gen Z 212 focuses on government accountability, social justice, and equitable access to services, while avoiding direct criticism of the monarchy, a strategic move in Morocco's political context. And the group's use of digital platforms and the gaming apps reflects the modern tech-savvy character of the youth activism in Morocco, enabling rapid coordination and dissemination of protest information. So this is just a trailer, you can say. The forward, like the protest in the coming years, will be done not on the streets but through online media. So if 1,88,000 people can come together in online and protest against the government, what about for 140 billion people in India? Of that, 60 billion people are Gen Z. Of that, 60 billion to 60 to 80 billion people are youth in India. So there can be similar situations in India which can result in protest by the youth, which will not be on the streets but on the social media. That is what happened in Nepal as well. Instead of Discord, they started using TikTok and Instagram. That is what happened in Philippines as well. That is what happened in Indonesia as well. That is what happened in Bangladesh as well. That is what happened in happening in Peru as well. That is what happened in Nigeria as well. So most of the countries are witnessing a youth-led movements, not on the street, not violent, which later turns into violent, that is secondary, but through online media. Next, what is the root causes? It is not just the Agadir hospital tragedy which resulted in the protest, but there are various reasons, such as economic grievances, unequal wealth distribution despite the GDP growth. The GDP growth was 4.6% in 2025, and despite the GDP growth, there was unequal wealth distribution. So, the quote, rich gets richer and poor gets poorer, was also seen in Morocco. High youth unemployment, that is 25% of Moroccans aged 15 to 24 were not in education, employment, or in training. Rural regions like Ait Amira suffer from overcrowding, job scarcity, and unfunded services. I will just tell you the reasons, but you can compare it with India as well. Is India going through similar situations? First, we'll discuss about economic issues. Is India growing in the GDP way? Yes, rapidly, around 7 to 8%. But is there inequality? X. According to Oxfam report, top 1% own for 80% of the wealth. So there is inequality. And is there unemployment in India? Yes, there is unemployment as well, up to 20% in the youth. And are there rural regions are there certain regions where there is lesser development? Yes, such as Bihar, UP, and all the states are lesser developed compared to the regions of Bengaluru, Delhi, and the metropolitan cities. And next, public service deficiencies. Healthcare and education are underfunded and insufficient. Is it the same case in India? Yes. Poor quality of hospitals and school-filled frustration. Is it there in India? Yes. Then political disillusionment. Trust in political parties dropped from 50% in 2022 to 33% in 2023. Is it same in India? Not sure. There is one issue which separates India from rest of the countries. Though there are core issues in different countries or developing countries are same in India, the youth trust in political parties of various political parties still remains intact, at least in to certain extent. Next, youth focused criticisms on government inefficiency and not the monarchy. Okay, so these are the root causes which led to protest. Then the course of protest started peacefully in major cities, escalated in riots in rural towns. Over 400 arrests, 3 fatalities when the protesters tried to storm a police station, and property damage, torched cars, banks, and police stations. All these youth movements, which start in the online mode, which start in the non-violent manner, which start in a peaceful manner, when they turn into streets, or basically turn into violent stage or violent protest. That is what happened in Nepal as well, where they stormed and burned the parliament building and killed many politicians. That is what happened in Philippines. That is what happened in Indonesia, what happened in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and also what was happening in Ladakh as well, where the youth protest, the Gen Z protest of Ladakh, the Gen Zs of Ladakh initially started in a peaceful way under the leadership of Sonam Wangchuk. Later they turned into violence, where they started burning hospitals, so not hospitals, burning BJP building, burning police vehicles, etc. So that is what is happening in Ladakh as well as happening in Morocco. Next, government response. So that is where the Nepal protest and the Morocco protest diverge. So the government response was initially the rallies were banned, heavy security measures were impacted, and the later there were conciliatory approach by Prime Minister called for dialogue, Employment Minister acknowledged the protesters' demand, and the public anticipation of the King's parliamentary address to come outline or online reforms. So recently these things already happened. What happened in Nepal was when the protests were happening, what the government did was they banned social media. What they did was whenever there is a protest, they use the iron hand, they use the force to suppress the protest. But that is not the case in Morocco. Initially, there was iron hand or the force to suppress the protest, but later they understood the grievances. Later, they understood the problems, so they started addressing. That is what happened in Philippines as well. As a result, both Philippines and Morocco were able to save their governments, unlike Nepal and Bangladesh. Okay, next, implications. The economic model scrutiny. Growth and international image mask inequalities in the essential service. Youth and digital activism. It shows the mobilizing power of tech-savvy youth, how the future protest will be around the world. And urban rural divide, that is, rural populations face persistent service deficits, and governance reform needs, highlights structural weaknesses and the need for rural development and youth employment initiatives. And the global relevance is that it reflects a worldwide trend of youth-led movements against inequality and poor governance. This can be seen in recently as in Nepal, Philippines. In Nepal, it was because of corruption. In Philippines, it was because of corruption in flood projects. And in Indonesia, again, main cause was corruption. And in Bangladesh, this was corruption plus malpractices in elections. And in Sri Lanka, it related to corruption and economic failure. And what is happening in Peru? In Peru also it is because of corruption. So all these protests have the same root causes, that is the corruption and misgovernance, which led to youth taking up protest, which ultimately led to violent protest. So even in India, that is what happened in Ladakh. There, the demands of Ladakh youth were not met by the government of India, which led to protest and violent protest. So the issues or the core issues of India and all these countries are the same: corruption, and misgovernance. So time is ripe for India to address all these issues so that India does not witness a youth or Gen Z protest which will lead to implications which cannot be reversed in the later years. And this particular Morocco protest is seen the most widespread since the 2011 Arab Spring, and most violent since the 2016 protest in Morocco. So it is not the first time that Morocco is seeing these kind of protests. In the 2012 or 2011 Arab Spring, Morocco is one of the chief countries where this Arab Spring happened, which resulted in the change of government itself. And in 2016 as well, there is protest. So now again the protests are happening. So it says that whenever the government or the governance is not up to the people's mark, the people of Morocco are going to rise up against the government. That is what is happening current as well. So that should be the case in every country, that youth or the citizens should not just sit and observe the government. It should take up responsibility. It should hold people accountable. That is what is needed in most of the countries, including India as well. So hopefully the government of India wakes up and addresses the issues. So this is about Morocco protest, which many considers to be Arab Spring 2.0. Okay. So this is the current topic of the day. If you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any notification. With this, I'll end the video.